here. We're live in North Sacramento. Most of us waking up to very sad news this morning as a Sacramento police officer, Tara O'Sullivan, shot and killed in North Sacramento after while responding to a domestic disturbance call here in North Sacramento. She was only 26 years old, so very young. She had been with the academy for less than a year, was in training and scheduled to go on her own in a couple of weeks. Now, let's show you where this all happened, and let's give you kind of a timeline. First of all, this is in North Sacramento. The home is, you see behind me here, is on Redwood and Edgewood. This is between Arden and West El Camino. You can see a heavy police presence now, even 17 hours after this all happened. You can see the yellow tape here as well. Police cars coming in and out of this area. Paramedics parked in front of that home as well. So again, a very sad situation here and very dramatic. Now, let's give you a timeline of how this all happened. This wasn't a situation that unfolded yesterday and was quickly resolved. This actually took a long time, several hours, and still in the process of an investigation. So it began around noon yesterday after officers got reports of a disturbance between a man and a woman at this home here. Around 3:30 p.m., police got to the home, again near Edgewater Road and Redwood Avenue, to help the woman gather some belongings. Several officers were with the woman when the man went inside the home. That's around 6:10 p.m., and he started shooting with a rifle. Officer O'Sullivan was then shot and went down in a yard. Police say the other officers in the area were forced to take cover, and they couldn't really get to her at that time. About 40 minutes later, an armored vehicle showed up here and took O'Sullivan to UC Davis Medical Center, where she later died after having surgery. So again, from noon to about 7 p.m., this all went on and started with a domestic disturbance call that officers were responding to. Officer O'Sullivan went inside a home. That man who was involved in a domestic disturbance went inside the home with a rifle, started shooting, and O'Sullivan was shot at, was impacted by one of those gunshots. Again, was transported to UC Davis Medical Center, taken into surgery, but didn't make it, unfortunately. So again, very sad news to report on this morning. Now, I want to show you just real quickly, for those of you who don't know or haven't seen a picture of Officer O'Sullivan, who honestly, really sad news this morning. She was in training, very young, very bright future ahead of her. This is her in a picture, and I'll have you zoom in here, Jeremy, if you can. Officer Tara O'Sullivan, end of watch, June 19th, 2019, shot and killed yesterday by a suspect who was now in custody after hours of negotiations with the Sacramento Police Department. He was taken into custody just before 2 a.m. today, and we want to take some time and really respond to folks who are now joining us on Facebook Live. Bridget says prayers to her family and friends. Mickey says very sad news indeed. Mindy says rest in peace. Erlene, condolences to the family. People want to know again the street and the locations of this is all happening. This is again in North Sacramento, between Arden and West El Camino here in North Sacramento. The home where this all happened is on Edgewater Road and Redwood Avenue. So again, this is kind of the area where this all happened. This is still a very active police scene. You can see again the police yellow tape here right behind me. The perimeter has really gone a bit smaller here. It was reduced about an hour ago. Grove Avenue was closed since the investigation started yesterday, has since been reopened. So again, that's the good news, but we don't know how much longer police will be here and have this area blocked off. So quickly going into some of the background information on Officer O'Sullivan. She was only 26 years old. She had been with the academy for less than a year, was in training and scheduled to go on her own in only a couple of weeks. So hearing that backstory, that background of Officer O'Sullivan and how new she was to the police academy, how young she was, and how much of a bright future she had, really puts things into perspective and makes things just that much more sad. So again, a very young police officer here, and I want to show you again a picture of Officer Tara O'Sullivan, only 26 years old. And after I show you this picture, I'll go in to some reactions that we're having, or responses we're having from the community here. We can zoom in on Officer Tara O'Sullivan's picture here, only 26 years old. We're hearing from people who know her this morning. They said she was very tough, great spirit, in great shape. So again, that's what we know about Tara O'Sullivan. We also know there was a procession from the Sacramento police officer to and from UC Davis Medical Center. Now let's check in with people on our Facebook Live here. Teresa says, condolences to the family and the department. Indeed, a very sad day, not only for the city of Sacramento, but for all of law enforcement in Northern California. Aaron says, praying for her family. We all are really praying for her family. And this is very sad news that really brings the community of Sacramento and really Northern California together. We've had even people from across the United States really responding to this. We had the chief of police of the Orlando Police Department responding, sending his condolences to the family of Officer O'Sullivan, but also to the Sacramento Police Department. Let's see, New York City as well, kind of offering their condolences. Peggy says, so sorry for the loss. Let's go into what we heard from Mayor Darrell Steinberg, who spoke at a news conference late last night after this all happened, and we had already learned that Officer O'Sullivan had passed away. He spoke at a news conference. He said really a sad day for the city, but also how it really hit close to home for him, because he has a daughter who is just 1 year younger than Officer O'Sullivan. He talked about how it's only been 20 years since the police department here in Sacramento has lost one of its own in the line of duty, but he also mentioned how our last 2 academy classes have each lost an officer in the line of duty. He referred to fallen officer Natalie Corona from the Davis Police Department and how she and Tara O'Sullivan both had bright futures ahead of them and big dreams as well, and even bigger hearts. So again, a very sad day here. Laura checking in with us on Facebook says, this really breaks my heart. And again, we do want to thank for those of you guys who are watching on our Facebook Live. Again, just to quickly recap of what happened, when this all started. This isn't a situation that started yesterday and quickly was resolved. Now, this really took several hours, and it's really a lot of moving pieces to kind of piece this together for you guys. So it all started at noon yesterday here in North Sacramento at that home you're seeing right behind me, where police were called to respond to a domestic disturbance call around noon. So this was between a man and a woman. Around 3:30 p.m. police got to this home. This is near Edgewater Road and Redwood Avenue in North Sacramento, bigger streets here between Arden and West El Camino. So when police arrived, they were helping that woman gather some belongings. Several officers were with that woman when that was happening, while she was gathering her belongings. Around 6:10 p.m., there was a man who walked into that home with a rifle and started shooting. Officer Tara O'Sullivan was one of those officers, was the officer who actually was shot, went down in a yard. Police say the officers were forced to take cover right after he started shooting, because obviously it was a really dangerous situation, so they couldn't get to Officer O'Sullivan at that time. 40 minutes after that, a Sacramento armored vehicle arrived at this home, and they were able to rescue her. She was still alive. They took her to the UC Davis Medical Center, where she was quickly taken into surgery, but unfortunately she later died. Now, several hours later here, again, remember, this all happened around noon yesterday. You can still see a heavy police presence here. You can see far in the distance those police officers really standing right outside of that home. You can also see paramedics here. There was a long standoff with that suspect who shot and killed Officer O'Sullivan. He was taken into custody just before 2 a.m. today. So again, that's the good news, that the suspect was taken into custody. But again, this took hours of negotiations with the Sacramento Police Department. There was a standoff. We don't know what exactly made that suspect surrender. But again, he is in custody this morning. Checking in with people on our Facebook Live. Let's see here. Amy says, "This is so sad, crying my eyes out. My heart truly breaks for her family. May God bless them." Dulce says, "This is so sad. She was so young, just like Officer Corona. Rest in peace and thank you for your services." Again, I'm glad Dulce brought that up. That's something that Mayor Darrell Steinberg focused on yesterday in a news conference right after we found out that Officer O'Sullivan had passed away. He said she was very young, had big dreams, a very big heart, and a very big future ahead of her, a very bright future ahead of her. He also referred to fallen officer Natalie Corona from the Davis police officer, and how they were both shot and killed right after kind of coming out of the academy. Now, we'll leave you with this picture here in North Sacramento. This is the home where it all happened. It's been nearly 17 hours since this all unfolded. Around noon yesterday, heavy police presence. We have paramedics here as well. We don't know how much longer this will take, but just to wrap this up, we do know, unfortunately, two things. Officer Tara O'Sullivan with the Sacramento Police Department was shot and killed yesterday, and we do know that suspect, who was involved in a lengthy standoff with Sacramento police, was taken into custody just before 2 a.m. We do want to express and extend our condolences to fallen Officer Sullivan's family, and again, we are with her, praying for the family, and may she rest in peace. We will stay with you on abc10.com with any updates, and of course on ABC 10 at 5, 6, and late news tonight.